Hi everybody, this is Dastraction Wolf. Welcome back to the last leg of our journey through Altered Beast. Today we're going to be playing through the hardest difficulty mode, and I'm going to be cheating my ass off. My plan is to go to the options menu and max out everything. This is kind of a glory run for me, a victory lap. After having played more Altered Beast in my lifetime than any human being ever should have to, I'm pretty much done. So this will probably be the last time I ever pick this game up, at least for a very, very long time. At least that's what I'm saying right now. So we're going to go into the options menu here. And set the difficulty to hardest. Power is maxed out. Lives are maxed out at 5. And I'm still willing to reset, but, you know, this way at least we won't have to play through quite as many levels. The idea here is to show you what the hardest difficulty level looks like without it taking us 4 videos like hard mode did.
Rise from your grave.
I had an interesting question come up on my first hard mode video, and I want to try to field it the best I can. The question was about hit detection, especially on the first boss. And how it seems like sometimes, and I notice it a lot on the second and third bosses, especially myself, sometimes it seems like my hits aren't coming through. And the question was if that was a mark of the difficulty mode, that there might be an invisibility level. You know how some games, after you as the player character get hit, there tends to be a period where you're invincible. Not in all games, and not in this one, which is why I don't think that's the case. But he was wondering if it was maybe something to do with the bosses on higher difficulty levels are have an invincibility period, and that's why my hits aren't going through. I don't believe that's so, mainly because your player character doesn't even have an invincibility period in this game. The only thing limiting how much these enemies can crush you is just their own speed at punching. Basically.
Welcome to your doom.
And you'll see it here. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's that I just rapid fire too much. See, it's hitting every single time, but the problem is that it kind of works on an almost what's the name of the game I'm thinking of here? It's one of my favorite games, and I can't think of it right now. Anyway, I guess the best way to say it is that it works a lot like some of the older Atari and Golden Age of arcade games worked, where I can only have one projectile going at a time on the screen. So if there are more projectiles, they're not going to hit. So long as my first projectile has made contact, I'll always hit the boss. There's not a lot of weak points on these bosses. It's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I can hit him anywhere. I know with the second boss you have to hit him in his eyes, but that makes up most of the body. There was a long conversation I had with somebody somewhere out there on the internet about difficulty levels on the Sega Genesis and how programmers made those work. I wish there was a way I could find it because I don't remember all the conclusions we came to, but it works different from every game. This one, the main thing seems to just be an increase in the number and type of enemies per level, and with the boss is just an increase in speed of projectiles. Although I swear to God, and I've yet to be able to prove it, but the little magma dragon that I always have trouble with on, I want to say it's the 3rd or 4th stage, I can't remember which now, despite playing this game over and over again for the last week. But the one where you become a tiger, I have this weird suspicion that when you're playing on a harder difficulty mode, he can get lower to the ground to actually hit you.
Power up.
I suspect this because I swear to God, on normal, I can duck down and he never touches me. But that's not so on higher difficulty levels. But it's a very slight angle of difference if that's the case, which is why there's some doubt cast on that theory. Yeah, some games are kind of cheap, and that's why I don't always worry too much about difficulty level, because some games the most that they do with their difficulty level adjustment is just have the number of hit points you have go down. That doesn't really add anything to the game. It just makes the game frustrating. There's other games that are really meant to be two players, so unless you're playing cooperatively that way, increasing the difficulty doesn't do any good. And some games are just not very well balanced. So playing through every difficulty mode isn't always the best option for me. Usually there's multiple characters. Even if the characters have a slight difference, I'll play through all of them. But difficulty mode is really depends on the game. There's only going to be a few games that I do that with. Some games, just for the sheer sake of showing you the game without having to struggle for video after video, I may end up just playing it on easy the whole way through. But that all depends on the game. I'm not one to shy away from a challenge, but I don't like being so frustrated I break my controller either. I mean, if you're not having fun, what's the point, right? Classic Game Room, the great Mark of Classic Game Room, has this kind of philosophy about game ratings, or he doesn't like to give a numerical value to games because he feels every game is right for somebody, somewhere, essentially, with very few exceptions, I'm sure. Oh, shit. That one just teased me. Can't win them all. But anyway, I tend to agree with that theory. But in the case of Altered Beast, I guess if you're a points gamer, that's just how you like to play. Good lord, it's like a party down here, and I wasn't invited. If points games are what you like to play, and you're looking for an action game, this one might not be a bad one to try to master, but as much as I actually learned to like this game, I feel I have no choice but to admit the person that this game is best for is simply someone who wants the full Sega Genesis experience, wants to know what the pack-in game was like in 1989 for the North American region. Jesus. Or is trying to play through every single game. It's not... There's better examples of pretty much everything. And I'm not sure that I mentioned it in an earlier video, but when we go through these games, we're going to be doing so semi-chronologically. At the very least, we're going to play through all the games I have on my 150 Genesis list for a year before moving on to the next year. I can't always promise that I'll be in order within that year. But for instance, we'll play through all the games I have on there that came out in 1989 before we move on to the ones in 1990. I like doing stuff like that because I like to see how developers progressed and how they learned how to use the software and how the fads of the time worked with video games. 'Cause, you know, obviously we're going to see some big changes in how Sega games run after Sonic the Hedgehog comes out and when the fighting game craze hits after Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2, so it's kind of cool historically to see how all that stuff works. Man, I'm sucking even worse than I thought I was going to. We're still going to end up doing a lot of resets, I think. It's a good thing I did that, right? Reset all my stats. This would have taken forever. It's not the smoothest running game in the world. Well, that's not really fair. It is smooth, it's just the controls are kind of jumpy. Things that probably wouldn't be a challenge in other games are challenging in this game. That was kind of cool. I didn't know you could do that. You like redirected the ant people.
Welcome Welcome to your doom.
Welcome to my doom indeed. Such a weird boss. He's like easy, but if he gets a hold of you, you're screwed. There's no surviving his hits. Did that tail on that shot look smaller to you guys? It was incredibly easy for a hardest level boss.